Hi guys. So today's video is going to be a list of my most disappointing reads of 2018. I do not like being negative. I can't even say the word. I don't like being negative about books publicly. I just find that a lot of times when people express their frustrations with a book or they talk about why they didn't like a book, they don't mean to. Well, some people mean to, but sometimes there's this air of, if you liked this book, you're stupid. Sometimes also there's this idea that the authors are stupid or the authors are terrible people, when really it's just you weren't a fan of the book. And that's all it is with the books I'm going to talk about. I just personally was expecting something different from these books than what they ended up being. However, because this book is slightly negative in nature, I do want to shed some light on something positive, and that would be the fact that I still have the fundraiser for the charity Save the Children going on right now. Save the Children is this organization that helps children in need all over the world. I have a link in the description bar if you are interested in donating. And I think what I'm going to do is anybody who, even if you just donate $1, anybody who donates will be entered into a giveaway. I think I will try to make it where whoever wins will get $20 worth of books, and that person will be chosen once $1,000 has been raised. So if you're interested in entering this giveaway, like I said, you can just donate as little as $1 and potentially win $20 worth of books and know that you've done an awesome, nice, happy deed and maybe help some kids that are in need. Anyway, let's get into the most disappointing books of the year for me. I'm gonna start with the one that honestly hurts me the most. I think it will hurt a lot of you also, but I don't own any of the books, so I can't like hold them up. But I did not care for Iron Gold by Pierce Brown. I freaking love that original trilogy so much, and I thought the ending of the trilogy was perfect. And then I found out they were making, it's not a movie, but I found out Pierce Brown was writing a fourth one, and I was a little hesitant. I was a little wary, but his plans for it sounded so fantastic, and I was really excited to see how the world would be changed after the way the first three went about. And there is a character from the original trilogy who is in the new trilogy, and I loved this character. I loved their story arc. They were definitely a flawed person, but I found them relatable and I found their story incredible. And then I did not like the way that this person acted in the new books. I didn't like their logic for things, in my opinion, was just not really how they were. The next book that I was pretty disappointed in is one that definitely irks some people, and I don't care, but I just really wasn't a fan of Black Prism by Brent Weeks. At the end of the day, everybody has certain things that they like and don't like in books. And for me, I didn't like the characters. I didn't really find any of them likable. They're definitely all gray. But for me, as much as I like flawed characters and I like gray characters, I also want somebody that I can either relate to, or I want somebody who is really intriguing and fascinating, or I just want a good guy. I just want like something like that. And I didn't feel like I had any, like, this is the good guy. And I didn't feel like I had anybody that was overwhelmingly interesting. And just nobody was like gray to a point that was still likable for me. And just it made the rest of the story not really up my alley. The next book that I was pretty bummed out about was The Poppy War. This book is definitely getting so much praise. All of these books get tons of praise. That could partially be why I was so disappointed in them, because I just did not feel the same. But The Poppy War is one that I think the writing itself, the mechanics of the writing, there's absolutely nothing wrong with. I would for sure read another book by this author, but I didn't care for this particular book. The two biggest issues, not issues, but the two biggest things that just didn't appeal to me were the pacing and then the amount of times that exaggeration was used. And because there are times in the story that things are incredibly gruesome and graphic, and those moments are supposed to be like that because it's actually kind of what happened in history. But other times when something is just as simple as some form of exercise for a person, it would be so blown out of proportion, the things that this person would have to do, that when you're using extremes to describe simple things, it makes the grotesque things seem like you're exaggerating too. At least it does for me. And so while I understand that exaggeration can be a tool to kind of amplify the struggles of our character or to really show how much they are striving toward what their goal is, if it's used in excess, then the moments when something is really extreme, they feel less extreme and they start to kind of seem cartoonish. The pacing also for me was a little jarring because there would be times that we would stay with our character for grueling hours or something to that extent, and then all of a sudden in the next paragraph, like a year would go by. And I am not a fan of that kind of pacing. I think it can be done well, and I think there are instances when between books time has passed, or instances where you pick up in a chapter and it's like a couple weeks later and you just kind of skipped over the boring stuff that doesn't matter. And I think for a lot of people, this is exactly what that's going to be. Like, we sort of kind of get like a training montage in certain moments of the book, and some people do not want to see the training. They don't want a whole book of this character leveling up, and so these paragraphs that kind of skim over those moments are going to be perfect for some people, but they just weren't my cup of tea. The last book that I was quite disappointed in is probably the one that I just, I was kind of angry when I got done with it. I think it's the only time that I've had the word, like, the words book rant in a video title, because, okay, the book is Tale of Shikanoko by Leon Hearn, and people, you know what, okay, it's really, I get, like, angsty even just talking about it. So, sexual violence in books. All right. It happens. Sexual violence is a thing. If it's in books, I get it. Like, it happens. And I'm not going to dislike a book just because there is sexual assault or rape. And I'm going to understand that it's something that is a very real fear for so many people. Like, it's a real fear for me if I go for a walk late at night, or for people who are walking across campus by themselves, or people who are in a sketchy neighborhood or something, or just in general. It's a huge fear for a lot of people. It happens all the time. But when you have a character get raped and their whole reasoning after their thought process after they get raped was, I did think this person I just met was kind of good looking. Maybe I brought this on myself. And that's kind of the end of it. I'm sorry. That, like, okay, people blaming themselves is a thing. Just like sexual assault and sexual violence and whatnot. Like, it's a thing, but you don't just, for me, again, I have to specify for me, you don't just write it off and be like, well, that takes care of that, especially when the rape doesn't even make sense to the story, because I'm going to go ahead and spoil some stuff. I'm getting really feisty. I should calm down. The setup for the rape is that this character goes against his orders. He is supposed to kill the boy that this female character is guarding over. And he decides he is not going to do that. He's going to do the right thing, and he's going to help them. And he meets them, and that night he's like, don't worry, I'm going to protect you. Don't worry, I'm not going to kill you. And then this sorcerer man knows that he's being defied, that his orders are not being listened to, and so he's like, I'm going to make you regret this. And instead of just using his magical abilities to have the man kill the boy, which was his mission originally, the sorcerer man uses his powers to have our hero rape the girl. So the rape literally didn't need to happen, because he could have just used his powers to get his goal of killing the boy. The boy is supposed to be the next emperor, and that's not what happened. So when your rape just happens so that, I'm pretty sure later in the series the girl has the man's baby, it's like, you couldn't have just found a different way to have that. Like, they couldn't have slept together because, I don't know, they were in love or something. Like, you couldn't have written it differently. You had to use the sorcerer's powers when you could have just had the sorcerer have the guy accomplish what his mission was from the start. So, that kind of thing bothers me, because, like, yes, rape exists, sexual assault exists, and females blaming themselves, or males blaming themselves, or people blaming themselves for this violence, it exists. But when all of this is just a means to an end so the girl can get pregnant and have the guy's baby later, and it didn't even need to happen. I'm a fairly traditional gal. I'm quite modest, but I would have found them being really, really attracted to each other and overwhelmed with lust to be more realistic, because people hook up when they just meet. Like, you couldn't have just had them hook up because they thought the other person was hot or something. Like, that to me, like, that wouldn't have bugged me whatsoever, because that's a thing that happens. And, like, sorcerers using their powers to make other people rape other people, when that doesn't need to happen because the goal was to kill someone, just none of it even made sense. And if the girl really did need to get pregnant in order for the story to progress later in the series, like, have her get pregnant. Ugh. Do you guys get what I'm saying? You're allowed to be like, just, you need to calm down. You can tell me I need to calm down, and I'll be like, yeah, I know, I need to calm down. It's just a book. But it just drives me crazy. All right, so don't forget to check out Save the Children and help kids in need. Also, let me know what your most disappointing reads were for the year of 2018. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I will be back with my favorite books of the year very soon, so we'll be back on a positive note. But anyway, hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.